Knowledge, Domain 9, Lesson 9. Here are this lesson's learning targets. Our goals are: I can recall facts about the Pilgrims. I can describe the first Thanksgiving and will explain why we still celebrate Thanksgiving in America today. I can demonstrate an understanding of the word celebration. I can draw and write a thank you letter to Squanto from the perspective of a pilgrim, demonstrating an understanding of how the Wampanoag tribe helped the Pilgrims. Let's talk about what we've learned in this domain so far. Take a look at this illustration from Lesson 8's Read Aloud. Now, get ready to answer a couple of questions about Lesson 8's Read Aloud. Where did the Pilgrims come from? The Pilgrims came from England. Where did the Pilgrims sail to? The Pilgrims sailed to America. In today's story, you will hear the following new vocabulary words. Celebration. A celebration is a party, especially one that marks a special event. We played games at my birthday celebration. Store. Store means to save things for another time. Squirrels store nuts in the hollows of trees to eat during the winter. Wisdom. Wisdom is knowledge and experience. My dad showed wisdom when he covered the sandbox before the rain. The title of today's Read Aloud is Thanksgiving. Today, you're going to hear a story about what many people consider to be the first Thanksgiving in America. Listen carefully to find out who celebrated the first Thanksgiving and why we still celebrate Thanksgiving in America today. Read aloud. Thanksgiving. The Wampanoag tribe had lived in the area for a very long time, and they shared their wisdom with the Pilgrims. We live on the coast most of the year, they told them, but we move inland each autumn to get away from the cold winter winds that roar in from the open sea. Because their homes were made of fur and hide stretched over wooden tent poles, they simply left one set of tent poles in place inland and a second set in a place near the ocean. They took the hide coverings back and forth between the two homes. In autumn, the Wampanoag told the Pilgrims, we fish in the rivers for freshwater fish. We hunt in the forest and fields for deer, turkey, beaver, otter, and moose. They give us fresh meat, and we also store some of it to eat during the cold, snowy winter. Fresh food is much harder to find then. There was little time for the Pilgrims to hunt and fish now, and they worried that they may not have enough food for the winter. But the Wampanoag gladly shared meat from their hunts and fish from the sea, as well as dried fruits and nuts. Without the help of Squanto and Massasoit, the Pilgrims may never have survived that first hard winter in the New World. But survive they did, and when spring came, the Wampanoag led the Pilgrims to rivers and to the sea, teaching them the best methods to catch fish. They taught them how to plant crops that they had never seen before, including the Native Americans' most important crop, corn. The Pilgrims and the Wampanoag managed to live peacefully as neighbors and friends. When fall came again, they gathered in their harvest. The Pilgrims were grateful to have survived a full year. They thanked God for bringing them to this new land where they could live freely, following their own religion. The Pilgrims held a 3-day harvest celebration and invited their Wampanoag friends to join them for the feast. The story of the members of the Wampanoag tribe gathered around the Pilgrims' table, feasting together that fall day in 1621, is told over and over and over again in America. We are not sure of the details, but we do know that the Native Americans had celebrated a harvest festival for hundreds of years before the Europeans arrived. This was probably the first time that Europeans and Native Americans celebrated together. The feast that took place in Massachusetts nearly 400 years ago has become known as the first Thanksgiving. Every November, all across America, families and friends gather together on Thanksgiving Day to give thanks and remember the long ago friendship between the Wampanoags and the Pilgrims. To Americans, that first Thanksgiving is important because it represents the best of the United States of America, different types of people living together peacefully and learning from one another. Now, it's time to answer some questions about today's story. How did the Pilgrims survive the first winter in the New World? The Wampanoag shared food with them. What did the Pilgrims decide to do to celebrate surviving their first full year, including winter? They decided to have a feast or a celebration with the Wampanoag. We still celebrate this feast every year in November. What is it called? Thanksgiving. I will ask you more questions about today's story. The read aloud tells us that the Wampanoag moved their homes between the ocean and the inland forest. When did they do this and why? They moved with the seasons, taking advantage of fishing at the coast in the summer and moving in the autumn to hunt in the forest. They stayed inland where it was warmer for the winter. How did the Wampanoag share their wisdom with the Pilgrims? In other words, what did the Wampanoag people teach the Pilgrims how to do? The Wampanoag taught the Pilgrims how to plant crops and gather the harvest, hunt, fish, and store food. Why do people in America celebrate Thanksgiving today? People in America celebrate Thanksgiving today to give thanks and remember the long ago friendship between the Wampanoags and the Pilgrims. Turkey and corn are both traditional foods to have on Thanksgiving Day. Why do you think that is? They are foods that the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag probably shared on that first Thanksgiving Day. Why do you think it is important for the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag tribe to come together for a feast? Share your thoughts with a family member. Now it's time for some word work. In the read aloud, you heard, the Pilgrims held a 3-day harvest celebration. Say the word celebration with me. Celebration. Celebration is another word for party, especially one to mark a special date. My school had a celebration at the end of the school year. Tell about a celebration that you have had. Use the word celebration when you tell about it. You can start off by saying, one celebration I attended was... What's the word we've been talking about? That's right, celebration. I am going to read some sentences. If the sentence describes a celebration, say, that is a celebration. If not, say, that is not a celebration. Mom took my sister and me to the dentist. That is not a celebration. We waved flags and watched fireworks on the 4th of July. That is a celebration. My parents went out for dinner on their wedding anniversary. That is a celebration. Carlos swam across the pool with his friends. That is not a celebration. Penny invited friends to eat cake with her on her birthday. That is a celebration. Now it's time to show what you've learned. For this activity, you will need activity page 9.1 and a pencil. If you don't have activity page 9.1, you may draw and write on a blank sheet of paper. Think about how the Wampanoag helped the Pilgrims. Pretend to be a pilgrim and write a thank you letter to Squanto. Draw a picture on the activity page that shows how the Wampanoag helped the Pilgrims, or you may draw a picture of the first Thanksgiving. Let's review this lesson's learning targets. Our goals are: I can recall facts about the Pilgrims. I can describe the first Thanksgiving and will explain why we still celebrate Thanksgiving in America today. I can demonstrate an understanding of the word celebration. I can draw and write a thank you letter to Squanto from the perspective of a pilgrim, demonstrating an understanding of how the Wampanoag tribe helped the Pilgrims. That completes our knowledge lesson. Happy learning!